Hello, everybody. As you know, my name is Sammy. I am the Events and Education Coordinator here at Goosefoot. That's not working. Hold on. As the Events and Education Coordinator, I get to run all of our social media accounts, which are quiet right now due to everything going on, but I'll get back to it soon. I also run a lot of social media for clients, so it's really fun for me to look at what's going on in the world of Instagram and other social media feeds, and then I can use it for my benefit, but also teach these classes and help you guys as well. So this is Instagram Advanced for business. It's not meant for necessarily individual use. So if you decide you go along watching this and you decide it's not quite for you, I promise I won't be offended if you head out. But on the note, please feel free to ask questions at any time. I have both chat and Q&A up, so if you guys have questions, I can answer them happily. Just let me know, and we'll go ahead and get started. These classes really are a lot more fun when you guys interact with each other and with me, swap accounts that you really like to follow, swap tips, ask and answer questions. So in the chat function, make sure if you open it up, you change the to field to all panelists and attendees, not just the default all panelists, so that you can talk to each other as well. So on that note, I'll go ahead and get started. First off, a quick intro overall of Instagram. If you came to my intro to Instagram class, a lot of these are going to be familiar to you. I promise the whole class isn't going to be. But the biggest thing you need to keep in mind is that Instagram is an app, not a website. So what that means is while you can definitely go on your computer and you can type in, Instagram.com and you can see everything, you can like, you can leave comments, you actually cannot post to Instagram from a desktop or a laptop. So you really have to have a mobile device in order to access Instagram. This means your phone or your tablet, something like that. You have to download the app and then you can access it that way. The good news is that as an app, it is on pretty much every single mobile system I'm aware of. It's on Windows phones, Androids, iPhones, everything. There are ways to get around that. There are other apps and websites and programs you can use in order to post from a desktop, but the main system itself does not actually allow for that to happen. So I'll talk about some of those systems near the end of this workshop if you're curious. Instagram is very photo-centric. So while on Facebook, you can ostensibly make a post that is all text or has just text information, you have to have some sort of a graphic in order to post it all on Instagram. Whether that is a picture, or a video. You can also make those image kind of posts that Facebook allows you to make where you have like a colored background and then graphical text on top of that. That could be the basis for your photo, but basically you need some sort of an image as the center of your photo. Obviously, there's also a caption where you can type whatever you want, but the picture has to be interesting enough for people to actually click through to read the caption. The caption is very, very short of what naturally shows before it cuts it off into a read more. And frankly, a lot of folks who use the app don't actually look at the captions very often. So make sure your picture is engaging and it makes sense without somebody necessarily having to read the caption. You can also have video. We'll talk more about video later, but video is pretty big on Instagram right now. Just instead of taking a photo, think about maybe turning it into a video. Just turn it on record instead, get a little longer exposure. This is great for events, it's great for places, people, and it's even great for products. So instead of snapping one nice staged photo of a product, you could definitely very easily walk around it as well so people could get more of a 360 view of it. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with video on Instagram. Don't be afraid to just kind of poke around the app and see what other people are doing. Instagram has the highest engagement rates out of any social media site. So what that means is above YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, everything, people are engaging far more frequently with Instagram. They're not necessarily mindlessly scrolling. They're actually actively liking stuff. They're leaving comments. Sometimes they can share posts to each other, but it's not like Facebook sharing where it shows up on their feed. It's just sending somebody a direct link to your post directly. So it's a really good place to be if you actually want to engage with your audience, which hopefully if you're trying to use social media, engagement really is your main goal. If you want to run ads on Instagram, and honestly, I would recommend them. It's pretty important. Both sites are pretty much a pay-to-play platform. But if you do, it has the same ad platform as Facebook. So if you've come to any of my Facebook classes, you'll know I actually really like the Facebook ad system. I like how you can drill down and really focus in on the people you actually want to address. And it's very, very easy to use. It's not complex at all. And you can actually run an ad on Facebook and Instagram at the exact same time, so you can reach a broader base of people. Or you could be in Facebook and set up an ad for Instagram. So ads are definitely something you could do from a desktop and not just mobile. And I say this a lot, but it's especially true with Instagram, quality is everything. People go to Instagram because they want to look at the really nice, pretty pictures. That is the driving force behind it. So on Facebook, especially when you're learning or just starting out, you can really get away with blurry shots or not the best lighting or kind of weird angles. That doesn't fly as well on Instagram. So to be successful on Instagram, you really need to invest time in improving your photography skills. Now, obviously, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you need to be a professional photographer right now. You need to give yourself time to grow. You need to start somewhere, and it's fine if you start on Instagram. But when you are taking pictures for Instagram specifically, give yourself a little bit more time to slow down. Make sure you have enough shots that you have something that's really good to roll with. I used to work for a professional photographer, and he was very firmly of the opinion, he'd been doing photography for ages, and old school, take the time and set up the one good shot. And if you have the time for that, awesome, go for that. But honestly, Instagram sort of works more on a way, people who professionally use Instagram continuously, what they tend to do is they do a whole entire shoot. So they'll take hundreds of photos, and then they will only pick out the one or two best ones. So whichever way you go, whether you're the slow, methodical, set it up carefully, take the shot carefully, or you're the take a million pictures and hopefully one of them is good enough to use, I don't care. There's obviously pros and cons of both. But the main heart of the story is you need to take time with your pictures. You need to give yourself time and permission to get that really good shot, because that is what people engage with, is the aesthetic, the look of it. So make sure you have a good look. On that note, make sure you have a goal. What are you hoping to achieve on Instagram? There's so many things you could do. It could go so many different ways for you. So what is the thing you actually want to accomplish? Do you want to increase your sales? Are you trying to get more loyalty so your customers stay with you instead of jumping to the next best thing? Do you want to use it to do customer service or customer outreach? Do you want just people to be aware that you exist and like what you offer and what products you sell? Do you want to educate people on, what you do or a particular topic? Or do you want to use it for advocacy? Obviously, you don't have to pick just one of these. Your account could very easily be a blend of things. I would maybe caution you against sales being the only goal, because as I said in a lot of other classes so far, no one goes online to be sold at. It's very off-putting. It's very boring. People, if it all is just a sales, unless someone really, really loves your product, they're probably not going to follow you for very long. So, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Keep that in mind when you're building up your persona on Instagram, when you're taking your shots, making your videos, writing your captions. What is it you want people to do with the information you're giving them? If you're just on Instagram because everybody is, you're going to end up getting really frustrated and feel like you're not getting anywhere and it's not doing anything for you. And what's the point of this anyway? And then you could just as easily be spending your time doing something very different that would be helping your business a lot more. So to feel like you're actually getting somewhere on Instagram, to feel like you're accomplishing something, you have to know what it is you want to accomplish. So maybe, if you have a goal already in mind, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'd love to hear your guys' goals. And then I can make sure I'm answering and helping give you guys ideas to reach that goal. If you're not, spend some time tonight after this class thinking about, what it is you actually want to accomplish. So some content tips: put a face on your brand. Everybody has a brand nowadays, companies especially. That's actually where brands started. But you need to put some sort of a face on your brand, because I'll tell you a secret right now: people don't trust companies. They really don't trust corporations, but they're just weary of businesses in general, because they know you're trying to sell them something. So you're already biased to a certain way. But people do trust other people. Think about it, the customers that are really loyal to your business right now, are they there strictly for your business, or are they there because they like you as a person? They like what you're about, what your philosophy is, what you really care about. The vast majority of customers fall into that latter bucket where they care about you. So even if your brand is not yourself, Goosefoots is not, I am not Goosefoot. I know there's a few of you in this class that this is your only interaction with Goosefoot. So for a lot of you, I am Goosefoot. But on our social media feeds, I am not the face of Goosefoot. My picture shows up very rarely in our feeds, mostly because I don't like my picture being taken. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. But it's not about me. Goosefoot is way bigger than me. It's been here longer than I have, and it's going to be here longer than I am. So, but Goosefoot does have a face in that it is very friendly. It is very relaxed and casual. We're very centered on being helpful and engaging. We want to connect people, not just with us, but with each other. We want to provide that forum to help people connect to one another. And so a lot of the stuff we do is around that. That's our street dances. That's the buildings we own. That's the programs we run. That's the classes like this that we teach. And why I keep harping on you guys talking to each other in the chat, because that's really what we're all about. And that's the face that I'm putting forward when we put out our content, is that community, that engaged community, that helpful, friendly, fun, relaxed. That's the face of Goosefoot. Make sure you provide value and show appreciation to your followers when you are creating your content. It's great if you're putting content out because you need people to know that, but you're gonna find that you're not getting very far with that. You get far when you provide them something that they need. So whether that's entertainment, distraction, information, we all like to be the one with the cool fact at the dinner party. We all like to know that we have the in place that everybody should go to in town. So you can definitely provide that to your audience through the content you put out. And when you're also putting out your content, make sure you thank your followers. They are people too. They are giving up their time and attention span to spend some time with you. And their engagement is what makes your content successful. Instagram and Facebook, by extension, do not necessarily show your content to people until people have told the platform's algorithm that you are interesting and worthwhile. So you need people to like your stuff. You need people to comment on it. You need people to follow your account, because all of those actions, add up into some point system that Instagram won't tell us what it is. And the more of those you get, the easier it's going to be for you to get more followers, for you to get more engagement. You'll be more likely to turn up on the trending tab so that more people can see you. So you need people to do something for you. So make sure you thank them for that, because honestly, you wouldn't have an account at all on Instagram unless people followed you. Otherwise, you'd be sitting at 0 and posting into the void. So whether you are at 3 followers, 300 followers, 300,000 followers, or 3 million followers, make sure you thank them for it. Make sure you show what it is that you do in a creative way. So rather than, I sell phone cases, cool, that gets boring really quickly. But if I show I sell peace of mind so that you can take your phone out on the go and not have to worry about it, or I help you project your personality, who you are as a person, by giving you these fun designs that help you extend that, whatever it is, that was just one example. But if you can show what you do in a creative way, you'll get a lot more engagement. So what is it that what's that solution you provide rather than the product that I'm actually buying? Make sure you use stories to spark a call to action. So I talked about this a little bit in the intro to Instagram, but I don't know how many of you were there with it. Stories are the current big thing on Instagram. It is something that was taken from a different social media platform and replicated onto Instagram. And it was obviously popular enough that they also replicated it onto Facebook. And I think even YouTube has stories now, which is wild to me. But stories are content that is locked to the top of the page. So when you go to your news feed, you'll see these circles of everybody's profile picture with this like rainbow circle around it. You'll see that anytime somebody leaves a comment, anytime you get notifications in your notification bar, if there's a rainbow circle around it, it means they have posted a story. So a story is content that is only available for 24 hours and then it disappears forever. So what's the point of that, you might think? Well, one is it gives you the place to put the content that's not necessarily super impactful and super engaging. The quick form, free thought stuff, you might not have gotten the best shot, but it's still something you want to share with people. That's a great place to put in stories because it's only around for 24 hours, so it's not going to negatively impact your rating in the algorithm. But it's still going to keep people engaged and checked into your page. It also, because it disappears after 24 hours, creates a sense of urgency. I have to check your page constantly or I might miss this forever and then I'm never going to know what's going on because the story is gone. You can use that sense of urgency to really get them to do something. So if you have a special flash sale going on, or if, say, you're a restaurant, it's a great idea for restaurants to post their menu for the next day, their specials, anything like that. If you have, pre-sale tickets going out, it's a good way to respect and reward your most engaged followers. Obviously, it's content that you can afterwards release onto your main feed if you like, but stories are a really unique, highly engaging way to interact with folks. You can boost sales on Instagram. As I was just saying, that shouldn't be your main focus, but you absolutely can boost sales on Instagram. I was reading a study yesterday that I think it's somewhere in the 70s or 80% of users have bought something they saw on Instagram first. That's pretty impressive. And I'll talk more about how the sales posts work later. But you can either set it up as an actual sales post if you're within the guidelines, or you could just make a regular post and tell people where and how to buy it. But people are very engaged with Instagram content. They're really interested in what's going on with you and what your products are, and they do use it to shop sometimes. So don't be afraid to use it as a sales tool. You can go live. Going live on Instagram is just it's when you're setting up a post. It's one of the film options. It's in the stories menu, but it's your chance to just raw, unfiltered footage. It's very relatable because it is live. People know it's not polished. You didn't take 20,000 takes in order to get that one. It's a lot more engaging because it's real and it's right in front of people and it's happening and they can be involved. It's not as important nowadays. Instagram used to really push going live, and it would give people notifications, and it still does. Right when I started this class, I actually got a notification from one of the people I follow on one of my Instagram accounts that went live, and I haven't actually seen that person's page in a really long time. It just gave me a pop-up notification on my phone that, hey, this person has just gone live. So it is a great way to connect with people. However, if you are uncomfortable in a live format like this, you're worried you're going to mess up, you're worried you're not going to be able to control everything, it's not as vital anymore. Instagram is really pushing IGTV, which again, we'll talk about later, but it is, as of right now, it is still a really great way to connect with people because it lets people know that you are going live. So it brings more viewers to you than just posting something on the feed and hoping they see it eventually. Make sure you use Instagram to build connections, both with your audience, with other businesses, with people in the industry, whatever makes sense for your specific type of business, depending on how you're organized. But Instagram is really about the people. It's about that face. So it's not all about you all the time. You have to use Instagram to connect with other people. It's really great if you're the type of business who goes to conferences or trade shows, because you can get your name out there, or you can start making those connections with people you really want to interact with. And you can do that way before the conference, because if you've ever been to any sort of professional conference, there's just so much happening and so much going on. It's so easy to get distracted, and it's really hard to remember everybody you've talked to. There's probably 10 different people who want something from you and you forget about it. But imagine instead of some nobody off the street of just like, hi, I'm such a big fan, or I'd really like to work with you sometime. Instead, you could open with, hey, I'm so-and-so. We've been talking on Instagram. Do you remember me? That gives you an entirely different approach and a new step up than what you normally would have. And it does actually work. Most of the industry leaders in whatever industry you're in are probably pretty active on Instagram because it's the thing right now. Facebook is still the big kid on the block, but Instagram is the fastest growing social media platform out of all of it. And it is where the 30 and 40 somethings are migrating to. They're no longer spending their time on Instagram. And I know some of you might be laughing and thinking, we don't have a lot of people like that around here, but that is the target group for those, Seattle visitors, the people who are stable enough in their lives to have, spendable money, but they're not so far into their lives that they already own all the stuff that they need. So that it's a really prime target group for selling things, as most of your businesses do. So don't be afraid to connect both with your audience and with other people. And the way you do that is by leaving comments, replying to comments when people leave them on your page, sending people DMs, which is direct messages. You can directly message them privately. It's a really great tool to connect with folks. And last thing on the content tips, make sure you stay up to date with trends. Things on social media are changing constantly. Every time I teach this class anew, I constantly go online and spend at least a day looking through articles and looking at the site itself and seeing what's changed, what's hot right now, what's not, because it changes constantly. Not only do the site designs change regularly, but the way people use the platform is changing constantly. So if you don't want to be left behind in the dust, if you don't want to post stuff that's just not going anywhere with anyone, make sure you give yourself time to look around the platform, see what's going on, take classes like this, read the articles, and pay attention. Kim just asked, can you recommend a specific source for staying up to date with IG trends? So my first stop, as silly as it sounds, is always Google. But there are a few, and I will just look at like 2020 Instagram trends, but there are a few sites that I regularly hit up. Social Media Examiner as silly as their site design is, they usually have really strong information. So does, oh, what was that? I was literally just looking at it. Let me look at this. I was just on their site and I can't remember their name now. Sprout Social. Sprout Social, Sprout Social, their entire thing is tracking all social media accounts, but especially Instagram, and seeing what the data says, what the current trends are. So Sprout Social is a really great one to get on their newsletter, just check on their site regularly. So yeah, my favorites are Social Media Examiner and Sprout Social, but Later Blog is also a really good one. There's a lot of really good ones out there. So like I said, as silly as it sounds, my first go-to is usually 2020 Instagram trends. And then I will kind of cherry pick through them and go, yes, I've seen this happening on the app, or no, this person doesn't actually know what they're talking about. But if you want some more direct links, please feel free to send me an email and I will get you those links directly after this. So some photo tips. If any of you are out there are like me, I am not a photographer. I am endlessly envious of those of you who are, because good photographs can really just transcend the entire experience. You really feel like you're somewhere that you haven't been. It really captures a moment or a mood or a feeling, and I'm not there yet. I take pretty decent pictures, but I'm not a professional by any means. But I'm assuming there's at least a few of you out there in this class that are like me. You're not professionals. You're just trying to figure out where to start. So here's just a few quick tips for you. And frankly, don't be afraid to just invest time or money into learning more photography skills as well. But first tip up is get a decent camera. That should be your number one priority. You cannot take good photos with poor equipment. It's just not going to happen. Camera phones nowadays have such phenomenal capabilities. My phone, this cost me like $900, I think. Actually, I think I got it on sale, so it cost me $700. And it can do a lot of really cool, it's got dual lenses. It can do really good low light photos. It's got a lot of really interesting, it can automatically do the bokeh filter. I'm not asking you to spend $700 on a phone. I bought this because this is my business and I need to be able to take decent pictures. Your entire business is not photography, other than maybe Kim. So you don't have to get something this expensive. Even if you have a 10-year-old phone and you're looking at it and you're like, well, what can I do? Even just buying like $100 point and click camera, something that is separate, that is just a camera, even that is going to get you far superior photos than a lot of phones out there, because phones have to do a lot of things. So at your price point, you're pulling that dollar in a lot of different directions. Whereas when you buy a camera, you are just getting the really good camera. Obviously, as you grow, you're going to expand your equipment. I did not start out with this really expensive phone. And, somebody who's getting into photography doesn't necessarily run out and buy a several $1,000 DSLR. I know it happens sometimes, but you can improve your equipment over time as it seems worth it to you. But even if you just buy a $100 point and click, it's probably going to get better shots than most of your phones. Some of you out there may be asking, well, if I do that, then how do I get it to my phone in order to post it? There's a few different ways you could do that. You could very easily use your charging cable, oftentimes, to connect your phone to your computer so that you can manually upload it that way. You can email it to yourself and then open the email on your phone and download it. You can use cloud-based software. At the office, I think a lot of folks have the iCloud, and so I will show them how to just put their photos in iCloud, and then they can get on their desktop and then download it. They'll put it on their desktop in the iCloud and then get on their phone and access it. I use Dropbox personally, and I have it both on my phone and on my computer, so I can access all my files from either device. Million ways out there to do it, but basically make sure you have a decent camera. When you are taking your shots, if you really want to develop a really good Instagram account, make sure you try to stick to a cohesive color theme or editing style or aesthetic. We'll go through some examples at the end of this, and you'll see a lot of them tend to stick to one color palette, or they slowly evolve their color palette over time with different backgrounds or different like primary objects in the photo. Some people just tend to have a similar aesthetic. Some people are very minimalistic. Some people are very modern. Whatever makes sense to you. And obviously you don't have to do this from the start. It's just a really easy way, once you settle on something, to make all of your photos look consistent and look like they came from the same account rather than just kind of scattershotting wherever you can. If you are taking outdoor photos, early morning, late afternoon, and dusk are the best natural lighting. High noon is terrible. It's very direct, very harsh lighting, and almost nobody looks good at that time of day. So if you are trying to take a shot outside, one of these times of days is really the best lighting. Overcast is also pretty decent because it diffuses the lighting pretty evenly, though it does make it darker depending on how overcast it is, so that can mess with your light abilities. And again, I'm not a photographer, so some of this stuff, if you are a professional photographer, you might be shaking your head at me, but this is what I've picked up by spending time on this. There are so many great classes on photography on YouTube from professionals that you can hire. There's a really great one on lynda.com that you can watch that I've been watching. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but pretty much everyone will agree natural lighting trumps indoor lighting. This light above me right now for this class is terrible. I look really shadowed and washed out. I look a lot nicer in my early morning classes that I teach at like 10 a.m. because the light's coming sideways through the windows instead, and I look better. When you are taking big photos, make sure you blur out or crop distracting backgrounds. If there's a lot of stuff happening in your photo and it's not what your photo is actually about, it's just going to be so noisy. People are going to skip right past it and continue on with their day. So Instagram photos are really impactful when they have one major focus per shot, and that you can immediately tell what the focus is. So if something's going on, you can take the blur tool and blur what's not important out, and that really makes the important subject matter pop. You can crop it in, but even better than cropping is just physically walking closer. You can get a decent shot if you take it far away and you zoom in and crop, depending on your equipment, but it's never going to be as good as if you physically got close to the subject matter. So play with your angles a bit, play with how close you are to something, the layout of it, but you'll see the cleaner you get and the more focused in you are on your subject matter, the better the image is. If you can, put people in your pictures. It is so easy to leave people out because people get really fussy about how they look. You have to get permission. Sometimes somebody doesn't do exactly what you want them to do. People aren't as easily controlled or manipulated as physical objects are. But putting people in your pictures makes it more engaging and makes it easier for people to project themselves onto that. Think about it this way, and I think I've shared this example before in one of these classes, so sorry if you've heard this already, but when you walk into a restaurant that you've never been into and the entire place is empty, what does your brain do? You immediately get a little bit uneasy. You think, okay, did I pick the wrong place? Why is nobody else here? But when you walk into a restaurant you've never been to and it's packed, maybe there's a wait, there's a bunch of people everywhere, you think, all right, I made a pretty decent choice. That same sense of unease comes in photographs when it's a place that people should exist, but they don't. And also, it's so much harder to make yourself in your brain project onto something that is pristine and undisturbed. But when there's a person in there, even if it's just a hand or, a side of an arm or the foot, it's so much easier to be like, oh, yes, this is a real place. I could be there as a person. I could be that hand holding that wine glass, looking out at that beach shot. So if you can, put people in your pictures, they'll be a lot more appealing. And make sure you add alt text for accessibility on your photos. Instagram does allow you to do this as you're going through the settings. Alt text is just for you explaining what is happening in that picture in very plain language, straightforward words, just like maybe a sentence or two. The reason for alt text is, one, it's searchable, because a search engine doesn't know what's in a picture unless something has told that search engine what is in that picture, and your alt text will do that. But even more importantly, alt text is very vital for people with visual impairments. And yes, they do use Instagram. I actually follow a blind YouTuber who regularly goes onto websites and sees how blind friendly it is. Or even if they're not blind, they're just really have a hard time seeing clearly. Alt text allows the tools that will read them what's on the screen. It'll let them actually experience what's happening. So it does take a little bit more time, but it is very important, especially if you're a business or a brand that really values inclusivity and engagement, and letting different kinds of people actually engage with you and your business. So take just a couple more minutes and fill out that alt text section as well in the settings. Pause for a second. I gotta get a drink. So make sure you obviously want to grow your audience. How do you do that? First off, you need to find, follow, and interact with your ideal followers. If you know, this age of person, this kind of interest, these are the people that I really want to connect with, that I really wish would follow my account. You need to go out and find those people and follow them. This will serve a few different purposes. First off, it'll give you the opportunity to form genuine connections so that somebody is more loyal to you. You are the first thing in their mind when they think about your category. They're more likely to go to you. A lot of folks regularly use Instagram where they will be looking at their notifications. They'll see, oh, Go Marbly followed you. Well, what is that? I'm going to click on it and open the account. Oh, cool. It's a dye your own fabric place up in Coopville. That's interesting. Oh, these photos are pretty cool. That video is interesting. Maybe I want to follow them too. So that is a pretty decent strategy to get people to just be aware of you, is to follow them. A lot of people do automatic follow backs. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, and you can always unfollow people later. But that is a pretty common strategy on Instagram anyway. And then the third thing about following and interacting with your ideal followers is that gives you that opportunity to stay up on the trends that I was talking about earlier. If you're looking at the people who you wish would follow you and interact with you, then your feed is going to be full of stuff that they like, that they're actually engaging with, that they are actually interested in, which will make it easier for you to follow along, to do something similar, so that you will be something that they want, that they're interested in engaging with, and you can stay on top of the trends as they change. Because businesses never invent trends. It is always the individual users of a platform that start the newest trends. So don't just follow businesses, make sure you're following people as well. Make sure you're creating content that appeals to your target audience, not just content that appeals to you. It's great if you really like what you're posting, but unless you are going to solely fund your business, that shouldn't be your priority. You need to put stuff out there that people that you want to interact with you, that you want to buy from you. Make sure it's content that they're interested in, that they want to engage with. So How do you figure that out? What kind of content does my audience actually want? You can look at your competitors' accounts for what gets the most response from people. I will give you this caution though. One thing is this is getting harder. Instagram is probably that they've already started rolling it out, but it's probably going to be a site-wide thing total this year, that they are hiding likes. So it right now, most of your accounts, if you go on it, you can see, 20 people liked this post or whatever it is. Soon, whether it's this year or maybe it'll be next year, I'm not sure, but eventually it'll give you, the latest person who liked it, and then it'll just say and others. It won't actually show you the number of people who have liked the post. There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, Instagram says they are trying to encourage creativity so that everybody's not replicating the same things in order to chase those likes. People will start posting more creative and unique things and doing whatever they want rather than what the numbers say. But also it's because they faced a lot of pressure about mental health. A lot of teenagers are on this platform and they're looking at these likes and they're basing their entire self-worth on it. And so I think rightly they're starting to take those away, because it's like you can still interact with people. You can still leave comments, you can still like something, but we're not going to show you these numbers that are only hurting you. And I, for one, really like that, but it is going to make things a little tougher. So whenever that gets implemented to you, because Instagram, just like Facebook and most platforms, they don't implement something all at once. They roll it out in phases to different groups of users. So you might already be in this position, you might not yet, but eventually you're going to be. So when that happens, how do you look at your competitors' accounts to see what's most responsive? You can't see their likes, but they can see it. So they know what's getting response from people. They know what's bringing in the likes or the follows or the comments. And they're posting more of the same kind of content. So that is how you can look at your competitors' accounts and see what's working for them, because they're continuing to do the same thing. Obviously, do not steal it from them whole cloth, because it works for them. You are not them, so it is not going to work exactly for you, but it could at least be some sort of inspiration to get you started. And frankly, all of us on social media have our social media crushes where you wish you could be that person. So use it to your advantage. You could also keep an eye on your followers and see what they're posting about, whether this is through actually following your followers back, or whether you actually just go into the followers list and click on somebody at random and see what's in their feed. Whatever works for you, but take some time to actually look at what your followers are talking about, and then make sure you pay attention to your own analytics. And we're going to be talking about analytics later. Those are called insights on Instagram, but it's just data that gets compiled for when the best time to post is, what kind of people are following you, and how they engage with that content. So make sure you pay attention to it, especially on Instagram. Facebook, I love their analytics tool. You can see your analytics going back to the start of your page. Instagram only keeps the analytics for the past 7 days, which is very frustrating and very limitedly useful in my opinion. So what I will regularly do with accounts that I'm trying to build up and paying attention to the analytics, I will check in at the same time each week, and I will, jot down the numbers and the data that they're showing me in a spreadsheet so that I can track it farther over time. There are also tools you can pay for that will track it over a longer period of time. Sprout Social is one I was just mentioning. Their whole thing is tracking analytics on different sites. So you can pay for that. It is very expensive. So the cheaper version of that is what I said, of just investing time to track it. But those analytics are very useful for seeing what kind of content your audience engages with and when the best time to post is. You can also ask your followers to tag you in their posts about you, about your location or your product, whatever it is. When other people are talking about you, one, that again tells the algorithm, hey, this account is interesting and important, so you should share it with more people. But two, it also builds that trust. This is somebody who is not you, who is not necessarily paid by your business, who is very supportive and excited about you and what you do. Testimony from people is always going to be more impactful than opinions from you yourself, your business. So make sure you ask people if they're making posts about it, tag you in it. Whenever you make a post, make sure you are genuine, consistent, thoughtful, and appealing. So you're not going in 20 different directions every single time you post. Instagram, right now especially, I think the largest trend on Instagram is authenticity. People don't want this manufactured fake look. They want real people, real lives. So being consistent is incredibly important. You need to be yourself, and you need to always be yourself, because as soon as you let that mask fall, if you try to pretend to be someone else and then you slip up, Instagram is not kind to accounts when that happens. So you can completely avoid that threat by just being true to who you as a company, as a person are. Whatever's important to you, stick to that, and don't try to be everything to everybody. Just focus on what you do best, what you really care about, and what really matters to your audience. Make sure you link your other online and offline communications to Instagram. People don't know you're on Instagram until you tell them that. If you want people to go to your Instagram account, post it on your Facebook page, put a link on your website, put it in your newsletter, let people know on your receipts when you send it to them that you can follow them on Instagram and what your handle is. I've even recently seen a farm stand that had a big painted sign on one of the walls that says, follow us on Instagram for the latest produce. And they had their Instagram account. You can bet I followed it, because I do want to know what their produce is without having to drive all the way out to the farm stand. I wouldn't have even thought about looking for them, because so few businesses on Woodbey are on Instagram. So if you want people to engage with your Instagram account, you need to tell them it exists. In person, online, offline, everywhere you can. And you might think you're getting annoying because you've seen it over and over and over again. But your average person probably hasn't even noticed. So something that's going to be annoying for you is vital for someone else. So don't give up too soon. Keep letting people know that's a thing you have, and keep at it regularly. And of course, the biggest way to grow followers on Instagram is by using hashtags. So what are hashtags, you might ask? Hopefully most of you know, but just in case you don't, hashtags is this symbol here on the left or on the right. I'm not sure if my camera slipped or not. It's that pound symbol there, and then a jumble of either a word or phrases made up of letters and numbers written together without any spaces or punctuation. So literally anything could be a hashtag. The hashtag's whole function is to serve as a site-wide search term. So people can find other content similar to that by clicking or searching for that specific hashtag. Hashtags are a thing that exist on pretty much every platform. Facebook has the functionality built in, Twitter, YouTube, and obviously Instagram. They're really only successful on Instagram and Twitter. If you use hashtags on Facebook, you're not going to get very far, but you pretty much have to use hashtags on Instagram. That's how people find content. And the interesting thing about Instagram that none of these other platforms allow is that you can follow a hashtag. You don't just have to follow people. So on our Goosefoot page, I follow a bunch of accounts, obviously, but I also follow hashtags Whidbey Island, hashtag Whidbey, so that even if I don't follow the person, if somebody uses that hashtag, I can see their post in my regular feed. Same thing with Bayview Corner, Goosefoot. If somebody else is talking about me, I want to be able to see it. So I follow those hashtags, even though for those particular hashtags, Bayview Corner and Goosefoot, I'm pretty much the only one that's posting in them. I still follow the hashtags so that I know if anybody else talks about us. So on your hashtags, I would recommend using the most popular, relevant hashtags to get more views. Obviously, the more posts there are in a specific hashtag, that means there are more posts that are within that same theme, and the more content there is around a certain subject, the more people are regularly looking at that hashtag. If you see, a really cute post and you're like, oh my God, I love that puppy. And then you see on that post, there's a hashtag puppy. You're like, oh yes, I do want to see more puppies. So you click on it and then you get your whole feed full of puppies and it's great. Same thing with your content. And you can actually use 10 to 30 hashtags a post. You can use as little as 0, but I would recommend 10 to 30 hashtags a post. That sounds like a lot, and it can be, but when you use a blend of hashtags, both very specific and very broad and appealing, that number gets eaten up pretty quickly. I myself have 5 hashtags that I use on every single post, no matter what it's about. I always, especially for like Bayview Corner, I always tag my posts hashtag Whidbey Island, hashtag Whidbey, hashtag Whidbey Life, hashtag Bayview Corner, hashtag Bayview Cash Store. So there are 5 hashtags, just that, before I even tagged what the actual post was about at all. I can very quickly spiral, especially, for example, something I did before all this started happening was weekly roundups, where I made a graphical post rounding up all of the open activities and events happening around Bayview Corner from all the different businesses that are residing there. So that would very quickly spiral into not only those 5 hashtags I already mentioned, but also hashtag open mic, hashtag wine tasting, hashtag food special, hashtag art show, hashtag art opening, hashtag live music. You can see how quickly that will expand. So don't be afraid to use a lot of hashtags, whatever helps you get your point across. And with hashtags, you can incorporate it in the text. So you can hashtag words throughout the post. So you could say, hi everybody, check this hashtag sunset on hashtag Whidbey Island. I love living here. Great. You can add them all at the end of the post. This is probably the one you've seen the most frequently, where you get through the caption and there's just like a wall of hashtags. That is fine to do because, again, as I mentioned, captions cut off after a certain number of characters. So unless somebody is invested enough to click the read more, they're not actually going to see that wall of hashtags, but it's still going to turn up in the hashtag search. Or if you don't like the look of it being in your caption at all, you can definitely leave them in a comment. So go ahead and post your post, nice, clean, pretty, however you like it, and then go back into your post and leave the first comment as your bunch of hashtags. Then somebody really has to be invented in order to click in comments to see the hashtags. It's not going to obscure how your post looks. This is really helpful if you're the type who shares posts. You make the post on Instagram and then you immediately share it to Facebook, which the site has a built-in function for. Because again, as I said, hashtags don't actually do very well on Facebook at all. But it still gets you in that search. So I've had people ask me in the past, well, which one is better? It genuinely doesn't matter. Your post is going to turn up in the tags no matter what you do. So do whatever of these makes the most sense to you. But, go for it. The one thing I will say before we move on to like where you actually find hashtags is I've seen a local trend of businesses tagging other businesses or organizations in their post. Like within the picture, you can actually tag people just like you can on Facebook. even though the post has absolutely nothing to do with that business. I personally find that really annoying. You might find success with it, but make sure you're not just doing it because you saw someone else doing it. Make sure you're being thoughtful and purposeful about everything you do, including that. So if you guys have any other questions, please, again, feel free to ask them at any time. This is not a lecture. I'm not expecting you to hold your questions till the end, but let's keep moving on hashtags. So some of you might be wondering, how do I find a good hashtag to use? There's a few ways to do it. You can browse in the hashtags you can think of and check those posts for related hashtags. Or as you can see on the side here, when you actually go into search and you start typing a hashtag, a whole list populates and it tells you other related hashtags. As you can see here, I was typing hashtag Whidbey and it popped up with Whidbey Island, Whidbey Life, Whidbey Flower. I think it's Whidbey Flower Works. Whidbey Island Grown, Whidbey Island Rocks, and the list keeps going on. This also tells me how popular things are because it shows me how many posts exist within that hashtag. This sort of also pops up when you're actually in a post and you're typing hashtags. The suggested list will come up as you're typing. I don't think it tells you in that point how many posts exist within that hashtag. So the reason I show you this is just to give you the example of, surprisingly, hashtag Whidbey Island is far more used than just hashtag Whidbey. So it's 5 times as used. Take that how you will. I have no comments necessarily on it other than to say for my posts, I tend to use both hashtag Whidbey Island and hashtag Whidbey because I want to be able to hit the people in both of those tags, not just one. You could also just Google search for popular hashtags. There are entire sites dedicated to just telling you what the current most popular, most trending tags are. I will give you the caution to make sure you stick to ones that are relevant to your business. You can get into a lot of faux pas by trying to bandwagon on a hashtag that has nothing to do with you. Obviously, you can always have fun with it and sort of jump in. But my big caution that I usually share in these workshops is that a good example is Domino's. This was actually on Twitter, but hashtags work the same. Twitter tells you on the platform itself what the trending hashtags are. It gives you a list of like the 6 top ones right now. All one night, the hashtag why I stayed was trending. It's a hashtag for domestic abuse survivors, and it's their chance to explain why they stayed in an abusive relationship instead of leaving. Domino's jumped into the hashtag with a tweet that was like hashtag because the pizza was on its way. That is very insensitive and very blind to what that hashtag is actually for, and they got a lot of backlash from that. So again, be mindful of what you're doing. Don't just jump on because you see it's the most popular. Even if you don't go that bad, you could still just get a lot of eye rolls and get ignored by people. If you're posting in something that continuously has nothing to do with you, do not hashtag Paris, France when you're posting a picture of Sunlight Beach that has nothing to do with anything. But even if you don't get into like huge trouble, just be mindful of what you're doing. You could also, once again, go back to your follower list, check out their posts and see what hashtags they're using on their kind of posts. It could bring up something that you never even thought about before. Or you can also go back to your competitors' accounts and see what they're using. Caitlin asked, is some amount of popular / general hashtags here and there helpful for growing followers, or should we only use hashtags closely aligned with our content? I would actually very much recommend a mix. So I would use both because you can use 10 to 30 hashtags per post. I would recommend using some really popular hashtags to get new followers, and then also use ones that are closely aligned with yourself and your content. That way you are getting that benefit of being targeted and actually getting people who are specifically looking for you and your content, but you're also having the benefit of that broad popularity and reaching out to people who don't know that they want you yet. So I would use a mix of both. Last up, pro tip. Because again, it's a mobile app, so I mostly post from my phone. I keep my most consistently used hashtags, those 5 that I use on every single post. I don't want to type them out every single time. That gets exhausting. So what I actually do is I have them saved in my notes app on my phone, so that every time I'm making a post, I can just go into my notes app. I can copy that string of hashtags, and then I can paste it onto my new post and then add the new specific ones specific to that page. Cuts down on some time, very easy for me to do, and it also helps me be consistent so I don't forget those ones that I regularly use. So, quick little hack for you. So, stories. Stories, again, are posts that stick around for only 24 hours, and they get their own feed separate from your regular feed. So when you go onto Instagram and you're scrolling down it, you can see all of your regular posts as they regularly are. But when you first log into Instagram, your stories are right there along the top and just begging for attention. So it is a really great place for you to put your rapid fire throwaway images. Put them there because they're only going to stick around for 24 hours. So who cares if it's not the best you could do? Who cares if it's not, high art? It could just be something really silly and really quick, something you just want to get off your mind really quick, something you want people to know about, but maybe you didn't manage to get the best shot. Pop it in the stories. Current trends are putting a regular post up on Instagram maybe 2 to 3 times a week. For some of you, that still sounds like a lot, but for a lot of you guys, hopefully you've just breathed a sigh of relief because you thought you were going to be having to post on Instagram multiple times a day. Instagram is not Facebook. Facebook, you really should be trying to post at least once a day. Your mileage may vary with that. But Instagram, current trends are maybe 2 to 3 times a week. That is perfect because that gives you the time to, be thoughtful about what you're posting. Stories, however, give you that chance to post daily, to engage with your audience, and to keep them coming back to your content, whether or not it's a day for your really good post. Stories always stay at the top of your feed, and they're very obviously visible. Again, that rainbow circle, everybody who is on Instagram knows what it means. They see it when it's around your picture in their notifications, when they come across your post in their regular feed, when they go visit your feed, your page itself. When they first log in, they're all right there along the top. Stories also enable you to do fun, interesting things, like you can ask polls or questions for instant feedback. So say you were debating, this color or that color, or this new location for a tour, or should we go this way? Or, hey, we just had a new baby goat born on the farm. What should we name it? You can do a poll or a question. This is very engaging content because you're directly asking them to click on something and do something. People love giving their feedback and feeling like they have some sort of an impact. But it's something that's only available in stories. You cannot do a poll or a question as a regular post other than by saying, here's our question, leave your answers in the comments. You can't click directly on the post to do the thing. You can also, in a story, once you get to a certain level of followers, I don't remember what that number is off the top of my head, but once your account gets big enough, you can actually link posts, or link stories, so that it'll show your full screen image, and then at the bottom, they'll see this swipe up to buy or to visit or to learn more, whatever it is. And so people can actually tap or they can swipe on it and it'll take them specifically to your website or your e-commerce store or wherever it is you want them to go. That is something you can do once you have enough followers that you can only do in a story. Because otherwise, I don't know if I mentioned it in this class, but I did in the intro to Instagram. Instagram only allows you one clickable link on your entire platform, and it is in your bio. So stories are the only alternative to that, and shop posts, I guess. To do a story, you either click on your profile icon if you're on your regular news feed. In the very top corner, your profile picture will be there. If you click on it, it'll take you over to stories. Or if you're on your feed, you can swipe right and it'll open up your camera to go ahead and start creating a story. When you get into the stories, there's so many options. There's live videos, normal, which is a picture, boomerang, which is a video that goes backwards and forwards. There's hands-free. I was just playing with it before this class started. Let me open it up again. And the options right now, because they keep adding to it, so I have live. I can go live with my video. And they also, because we're set up as a nonprofit, it gives me a little fundraiser option right here. So if I click on it, I can actually set up a fundraiser so people can donate to a charity of my choice, or I could get set up as a nonprofit so they could donate to me. But I could support a specific nonprofit here. And there's lots of fun filters and everything as well. You guys probably can't see it very well on the computer. There's also create, which lets you do the Facebook thing where it's colored background and text. Normal, again, is a photo. Boomerang is a short video that goes forwards and backwards. It's just visually interesting and stimulating. Super zoom has a lot of fun filters, and it sort of just zooms in on whatever you're focusing it on. But again, it's a video. And then hands-free is usually with Instagram videos, you have to hold the record button the entire time you're recording. Hands-free lets you do, at least what my phone normally does when recording, where I can tap it once to start the recording, and then I can tap it again to stop the recording. Those are only available in stories. Usually with your content, you only get take a photo, upload a photo, or upload a video or take a video. You don't get all of these fun options. So stories really give you a lot of fun stickers and images and logos and links and things you can throw in there to just be goofy and have fun with it. And again, the nicest thing about stories is that they're only around for 24 hours unless you choose to archive, which means you get to have fun with it and not stress that much about how professional it is or how perfect it is. Just goof off and have fun. I talked about this already. So some of you guys might be wondering, what does a story actually look like? If you haven't spent time on the platform and looked at them yet, here's a few examples that I really like. Let me move my image up so I am out of your way. Again, all of these have people in them because people are very engaging. Most of them have words slapped on top that are very visually interesting. As you can see, all the ones I happen to have pulled for examples, they're all story ads. So companies have paid for these to run in people's story feeds, whether or not they actually follow the account. So it does cost the company money, and they are all selling something, but they're tackling it from different angles. They're not just the SIPS buy is probably the closest that's just selling something. 50% off your first box. But the most of them are focusing on what the problem they solve, what they enable the person to do by buying it, not necessarily the product that they're buying. They are on a timer, so I think most stories are 15 seconds long, I think. So it stays on somebody's screen for 15 seconds, and then it rotates to the next one. They can always go back and look at it if they want. And if you are a person who has watched stories and you get frustrated by how fast they move, because I've heard this from people who've come to my classes before, I will let you in on a secret. If you put your finger on the phone and hold it there, the timer will stop. The image will not rotate. So if you are looking at people's stories and you want to really analyze them and see what works and what doesn't, just put your finger on it. Don't tap it. You have to hold it on it. But if you do that, it'll stop the story moving. So my tip to you, that for those of you who have been frustrated. The last thing I want to point out on the screen, as you guys may have noticed earlier, I was saying on these page stories, you get some more options. That's what I was talking about at the bottom here of all of these, is that 1 or 2 word phrase and a little arrow that points up. So if you swipe up on any of these, it is going to take you to their website, to the specific page where you can buy the thing they're talking about. So that's pretty exciting. But the biggest thing is if you want to get into stories, spend some time looking at stories. That's how you figure out how to do it. So don't be afraid to play with it because they're only around for 24 hours unless you choose otherwise. And it gives you the option when you get into your stories after you've posted them, it gives you the option to archive it. So the other fun thing you can do on Instagram, if you set your account up right, is you can do shop posts. So shop posts allow people to buy the products they see directly on Instagram. Hopefully you're getting a little bit distracted by this GIF I have on the side of the page here that's actually showing you how it looks when people swipe and click and everything. It starts off with just a normal post, and at the bottom it says view products. If you click on that, it gives you the one that's in that post specifically, and then below that it gives you links other products that your business sells. And then if people click on it, they can actually go to your website to buy it. They're not spending the money on Instagram. They're going to your site to buy it. So how do you get to that point, you might ask? First off, Instagram has pretty strict rules for that right now. You need to have an Instagram business account. If you don't have one, or if you'd like to know how to set that up, go back and watch my intro to Instagram account video. It's on our YouTube page, or you can email me and I'll send you a link to how to do it. But you have to be a business account, and I would really recommend that anyway, because you also have to be a business account to get any of the analytics or ads. So set up your account as a business account, not as a personal account. You unfortunately have to sell physical goods. Instagram's terms of service do not currently allow this for things like services, stays, anything like that. Anything that's not tangible, unfortunately, they don't currently allow to set up as a shop post specifically like this. And you have to be connected to your Facebook catalog where you actually have the product set up. It's a really long, drawn out process, and it can get really confusing. Again, I did a video on this. It was the crash course selling on Facebook. I showed you how to set this up. But again, if you need help with this and you're really interested, please feel free to email me. I will send you all the links you need. Some very clear, easy to understand walkthroughs. If you are a business that sells something that is not within this narrow scope, you can just make a regular post showcasing the product or service and telling people to go click on the link in your description to actually buy it. They just won't be able to click on that post itself to go buy it. But it's a pretty cool feature that they offer, and it is genuinely really successful. The numbers show they're doing pretty well with it. So by all means, jump on this bandwagon if you fit into the scope of it. Next up is video. So I'm not going to talk too much in depth about video. Again, I have an entire crash course on online video. That one actually ended up being an hour. It's on our YouTube channel. You can watch it at any point. But video is very big on Instagram and Facebook right now. They're trying to compete with YouTube so that people will watch online content on their platform instead. So because they are trying to do that, they're really pushing video content. Your posts are far more likely to show up in people's feeds if it's a video than if it's a photo. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I got a notification that somebody I haven't even checked in a while went live because they're really pushing the live videos. So it's a good, easy way to tap into something that's popular right now. Use it to your advantage. Don't be afraid of video. It's not as scary as you think. If I can stand here and talk to you guys and be fine with it, I guarantee you guys who are very, you know what your business is because you've been doing it for years, you have something interesting to talk about. So don't be afraid to turn a camera on yourself or on something around you and share that in video form, not just photo. So there are two ways to post video with Instagram. So the first way obviously is Instagram specifically. It limits your videos to 1 minute. You cannot have a video longer than 1 minute on Instagram. It will automatically cut it off, which for some of you might have been frustrating at this point. If you didn't know why it was doing that, that's why. IGTV, which is Instagram TV, is their newest venture. It came out in June 2018, so it's almost 2 years old. It is their video platform. They want people to post longer form, more engaged content on IGTV. That limit is 1 hour, so it's much longer. You can post much longer videos on it. I'll answer your question in just a second, Caitlin. The interesting thing with IGTV, and I will admit I don't use it, I am very heavily a YouTube gal, but if you're interested in getting into IGTV, it's actually its own separate app. So you have got that Instagram app and you have the IGTV app. So they're separate things, but you can get a snippet of IGTV because you connect your accounts. You can't have an IGTV account without having an Instagram account. So anybody who follows you on Instagram, if you post a long form video on IGTV, it will, a snippet of it, that 1 minute snippet will show up in your regular Instagram feed and then prompt people to go look at it on IGTV. So they are very closely intertwined. It's the same company after all. But they are technically separate apps. So if you're wondering, well, how do I post to IGTV? Go ahead and download the IGTV app and it'll walk you through it. Video overall is the hottest trending type of content. As I've mentioned already, they really want you to post it and they're really pushing it on people. So don't be afraid to make videos. And maybe consider making it a series. So rather than just a one-off video about something, they really want, I was actually reading their Instagram's page on IGTV before this class, and they very much are leaning on the TV part of IGTV. They want it to be the new place people consume content. So they're encouraging creators to upload videos to it, but to also make it a series. You can actually very easily make it a recurring series. It's one of the checkbox options. So if you have something that you are an expert in, Kim, for example, I'm sure you have so many things you're an expert in, between taking pictures or video or design stuff. If you want to make just a series of, short, in-depth subject matter that you're very knowledgeable about, or, say you want to explore a place and post a series of walkthroughs in different places, or you could interview different kinds of people. There's a lot of ideas for series, but think about it. If there is something that is engaging enough to you and engaging enough to your audience to take the time to make a video of it, because it does take more time to make video than to take a picture, consider if it's something you can do recurringly. That keeps bringing people back regularly. It keeps you motivated because you know what you're going to do next. You know how to get there. And it's pretty engaging. So consider making it a series. Caitlin just asked, any tips on coming across more naturally in video? I get freaked out in front of a camera. First off, I will tell you that is completely normal. I think everybody does. I will also tell you, not a single professional in the world likes how they look or how they sound. I don't know a single professional, and I watch a lot of people who do social media as a living. Like, that is all they do, is YouTube videos or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Even the people who make their money doing this, do not actually like being on camera. So first off, keep that in mind. If nobody enjoys it, so give yourself permission to, you don't have to love it magically overnight, or you might never. I cannot watch these videos when I upload them. We have a whole channel of videos of me talking to a camera. I don't watch myself. I take note in my brain as I'm recording it if there's anything I need to cut out or fix later. but I largely just download it to my computer and then upload it to YouTube and never look at it again. That is okay if you do that as well. So you don't have to necessarily look at your face constantly all the time. Just go ahead and give yourself permission to try. Whenever you start something new, you're never comfortable. You never feel natural. So the only way to get natural is just to try. So when you're first starting out, some of my tips that I really like is a lot of folks I've seen when they're first starting to talk to a camera, they'll actually put googly eyes on the camera on either side of the lens so that you have eyes you can be looking into. And it's just something, in my opinion, that looks very silly and makes me smile every time. Or if you have somebody who's, very supportive of you and, really helpful, say a spouse or a kid or a friend or a neighbor. Obviously, this is a little tough in current times due to the stay-at-home restrictions. But when things change, or if you live with your supporter, maybe ask them if they'll sit behind the camera. So at first, when you're getting used to it, you're not talking to the camera, you're talking to them. They're just not necessarily responding, and there's a camera between you guys. So that's a good way to start. But honestly, the biggest way I got used to it, and I did, when I started, I was terrified, but I am to the point where I can do these classes. And also, even back when I was in grad school in 2016, 2017, we had a video project where we were supposed to video us talking about a specific subject, and everyone else did voiceover, and I didn't get the memo, and I just actually talked to the camera, and everyone was surprised how I could do that. And it's because I just sat down and recorded, and I didn't think about it, and I gave it a try. Pick a subject matter you are very comfortable with, something you enjoy talking about, something silly that you just want to, you enjoy talking about in your regular life, something you're really passionate and enthusiastic about. And we all have those things that we could just talk forever about if someone would let us. Use that as their subject matter and just talk and record yourself. I would watch your videos at first just to see if there's really something you're doing with, your body, or you're doing with your face that you just can't stand, and, train yourself out of that. But honestly, the only way to move forward with video is just to sit down and do it. So hopefully that helps, but just really, I recommend just giving it a try. So I feel like I've talked enough about video. Let's get into insights. Insights are, again, good. Go for it. I believe in you. Insights are analytics on Instagram. It is data that is who your audience is and how they interact with you. So you can see the screenshot of the analytics, one tab of it on the side here. It's divided into 3 tabs. So activity is people interacting with your account, people discovering your page. Reach is how many people, saw your content, whether or not they actually stopped and looked at it or interacted with it. And then impressions, I think it's the other way around. Impressions is how many people it got out to. Reach is how many people actually engaged with it in some way. Engaging with it could even just be stopping and looking at it without actually doing anything. But if somebody's just mindlessly scrolling down their feed and they don't actually stop on anything, they will turn up in your impressions numbers, but not necessarily your reach, unless they actually paused on your picture and looked at it for a few seconds. Content tab looks at the engagement with the posts, the stories, and the promotions. So this is people clicking like, this is people clicking share, this is people leaving a comment, this is people clicking on the link in the stories or answering a poll. This is people clicking through on your ads and actually doing the thing you're paying Instagram to get people to do. So that gives you the hard, solid numbers of who's doing what and why. Audience, in my opinion, is the tab I probably spend the most time on. Well, it's content and audience is really both of those. Audience gives you the locations of where people are located broadly, not specifically. So for me, I think it breaks down to like Langley, Oak Harbor, Coopville, Seattle, and then sometimes countries as well. but it won't tell me like, oh, this person was on Front Street. It also gives you their ages, so you can see, what age bracket you're really hitting with your content, and then their gender, and then active time. So what time of day is best for you to post? And then if you actually swipe that to the other tab, it'll actually give you what day of the week is best to post as well. So that can really help guide your content. As I mentioned earlier, insights are only available if your page is a business page. Personal profiles on Instagram do not have access to this. So you have to have set up your account as a business account in order to see these insights. I'm going to show you real quick how to get to this. I think I can do it on desktop. We'll find out together. So I'm going to turn on notifications. Here's my Instagram account for Coupeville Chamber. Here's some stories that are right here at the top, as I mentioned. But if I click on, let me turn on my, highlight my cursor so you can actually see where I'm going. If I click on my profile picture, and this is the same on desktop or on mobile, it'll take me to my actual feed. And then if I click on the little, I might not be able to see it on desktop. Okay, yeah, I can't, unfortunately. But if you're on your profile on the app itself, go away stories. I know you guys can't see this very well, I'm sorry. But again, click on your profile picture to pull that up. And then in the top right corner, I believe for most of you, if you have an iPhone, it might be in the bottom right corner, but you're gonna click on the 3 lines once you're on your profile, not on the news feed. And then the second option is insights. So that's where you click to get all of the data. So take a look at it. Like I said, check it regularly because it only keeps the last 7 days, which is frustrating for me personally, but make sure you check on it regularly so you don't miss this really good data. So unless you guys have any specific questions on insights, I do cover insights a little bit more in my class Beyond the Boost, Crafting Effective Social Media Campaigns. So if you're interested, please sign up for that. And talking about Beyond the Boost, we're now on ads. So Instagram ads use the same highly intuitive system as Facebook. As I said, if you haven't done it before, Facebook ads are so easy to use. They're so easy to navigate. They're so easy to set up, and Instagram is the exact same way. So don't be afraid to give it a try. You can set up your own parameters. So usually when you're advertising with the newspaper or the radio station or the television, normal advertising, they come to you and they say, here's our options available, and here's how much it costs, and here's when and where it's going to go out. That is not how social media ads work. Social media ads, you get to say, I want to spend this much money, I want to reach these people, and I want my ad to run for this long. And those platforms then go, okay, well, within those parameters, we will show it to X number of people. So you can run an ad for as little as $1 a day. It is not expensive to run social media ads. In fact, I think most Goosefoot ads, if you've ever seen a Goosefoot ad on your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, most of our ads only cost us $20. It does not have to break the bank. It is a very effective tool for reaching a lot more people. Even if you have a high follower count, both Instagram and Facebook have this tricky thing called the algorithm, which is a computer code which decides what to show who and when. So even if someone follows you on Instagram, they might not actually be seeing your content because Instagram has decided that there's only so much space on a feed. And if somebody doesn't regularly engage with your content, they don't regularly look at it, they don't regularly like it, they don't regularly comment, whatever, it's decided that they don't actually want to see your stuff anymore and it stops showing it to them. Instagram has this problem less than Facebook does because people post on Instagram a lot less frequently than they do on Facebook, but it is still there. So if you're seeing you're either not growing your audience as fast as you want, or you have a decent sized audience, but no one seems to be seeing your stuff, it might be time to run an ad. Even if it's short and it's not that much money, it can help you reach a lot more people. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can set up an ad on Facebook, like be in the Facebook platform on your desktop, and you can choose at that point to run it just on Instagram or both platforms or just on Facebook. It gives you that option. You, as I said, you get to set your own audience, budget, duration, and goal. So you can get very specific of, I want to spend $5 for one day reaching people in the 98260 zip code who are interested in wine, travel, and who have teenage kids at home. You could set all of those parameters and it would help you target those people based on the data they've given to the platforms and their browsing history, what kind of stuff they like, what kind of stuff they interact with. It can be creepy at times, but this unfortunately is the world we live in. So you might as well use it to your advantage for businesses. Instagram gives you the option to do a single image ad, a carousel ad. So this is multiple images that people can swipe between to see more than one image. Or you can also do a video ad. Those are your three options. There's technically four because you can also do, those are the three options for feed ads. You can also run an ad in stories as well. And I showed you those examples earlier. Those were all story ads. They're full screen, so the aspect ratio is a little different. Regular posts tend to be square content, but stories are the full screen. And you can also do a lot more stuff, you know, polls, questions, swipeable content, things that you can't do as a regular post. So don't be afraid to explore your options as well. I want to talk a little bit about influencers. Influencers are definitely a growing thing on Instagram. This is a pretty common term you'll hear if you spend any amount of time on the internet. An influencer is somebody with an established platform, which means they have a high follower count and possibly in a niche market. The most famous influencers in the world, you've probably heard of them, are the Kardashians. That is like what you should be picturing when you think influencer, because that is the prime influencer. It's somebody whose literal entire livelihood and job is just to exist on the internet and convince people to buy certain things or to look at certain things or to think certain things. Whether or not you think they're silly or frivolous, it's kind of a moot point at this point, because they are real. They are a thing that exists. It is a job somebody could actually aspire to. Not all influencers in the world are Kardashians. There are influencers who are much smaller and more niche. There are people who make their entire living, for example, doing mommy blogging or travel vlogger. Travel writers are influencers because, again, their entire job is to make videos, post pictures, and write articles to convince people to go to certain places and do certain things. So travel writers, mommy bloggers, tech bloggers, all of these people, they are influencers because they are in a position of authority with an established platform, and they are somebody that people trust and follow the opinions of. If you are interested in working with an influencer to boost your business, this is a growing avenue for marketing opportunities. You're tapping into somebody else's large and established platform and skipping all of that work you have to build your own. You can pay these people to feature your business to their followers. So this is you giving them money or giving them product, whatever, for them to post about your business or your services or your location and then reach their followers directly. The Tourism Council is actually working more and more with influencers, so even they see the benefit of this new avenue of advertising. If you are interested in working with an influencer, prices can range really widely. from person to person, but also in the same person. They will charge you different amounts to work with you. Some people will do it just for free product. Some people will ask for product and a certain dollar amount. If your business gets big enough online, you will probably run into an influencer, even if you don't solicit them. People will come to you and say, hey, will you give me a free product or a free experience? And I'll post about it on my blog. If you want to work with these people, take your time to do research, because not only do their prices vary widely, but so does their credibility. There are a lot of people out there on the internet who will call themselves influencers, and they are not worthy of the title because they don't have a platform. They don't have a high or reliable follower count. Some of them pay programs, which are called bots, to artificially inflate their follower count. Some of them I'm sure you've probably seen, or if you haven't, you will at some point see articles online of people who use the influencer status to scam businesses, where they will get free product or whatever, and then they will either never make the promised post, or they'll really, make it very shoddily, or even some horror stories of people have taken product they've gotten from businesses and then turned around and sold it without ever mentioning the business. So don't just blindly work with someone because they call themselves an influencer. Do your research. One thing to keep in mind if you are interested in ever working with an influencer is the FTC requires it be disclosed as a brand deal. So you cannot pay someone, you cannot give them free product, and then they pretend that they're just an organic customer of yours. That is illegal, and they or both of you can get fined if you get caught. So don't do it. If you pay somebody, or even if you just give them free product to talk about your business, they have to disclose that. If they are not planning to disclose that, if it's nowhere in the contract, they are shady. Do not work with them. But also, you can't expect them to not disclose that you paid for that opportunity. Even if you pay for that opportunity, you cannot control what they say. So if you gave them free product, or if you gave them money to talk about your business, they are still legally allowed for what they end up posting to be negative about your business. So it's not a band-aid to fix any problems with your business. It's not a quick get-rich scheme. And just because somebody has 30,000 followers doesn't mean 30,000 people are now going to buy from your business. It's smaller percentages who actually carry through. But it is a decent way to tap into existing markets without having to take the years to build it up yourself. If you are looking to get into this new market, there's so many videos and articles out there about how to screen for a good one, and how to work with them. But the things you definitely need to know if you're trying to find one is, you can mine your followers, see who they're following, who are accounts that they seem to have in common, that they seem to be interested and engaged with. Some of those might be willing to work with you so that you can reach more people like the people who already follow you. You can look and see who your competitors are using. So, search their name, see what posts come up about the company that are not from that company. And again, they are required to disclose that it is a paid deal, so it's very easy to find any influencers they might be working with. You can check the largest users in certain hashtags. So say you wanted to get, tap into, you make custom pet goods. You can search for the largest users within the hashtags of, dogs, and you could ask them if they'd be willing to work with you, even if they've never done something like that before. So you could tap into people who already have a lot of followers, who make posts that get a lot of engagement, and see if they'd be willing to work with you. You can also Google for an influencer within your certain subject or region. And then there are actually influencer platforms. They're sort of like talent management systems, if you've, looked at those in the past, where it just compiles a list of people who have registered themselves with the company as an influencer, and it'll lay out what accounts they have, you know, what they specialize in, how many followers they have. So there are platforms out there that some of them are free, but the best ones, as always, you have to pay for. And you can actually just check and see who on there you might want to work with. So I know a lot of you guys aren't quite at the stage where you would want to work with an influencer. It seems kind of weird to you, or you just don't have that disposable funds. So I'm going to move on pretty quickly, but I just wanted to let you know this is a growing field, and you do need to be aware of it, either as an opportunity that you could tap into, or just be cautious that sometimes it is a fairly, I think I hear this region of the internet being called the Wild West a lot. It's still fairly unregulated. There are a lot of rules, but there's not a lot of enforcement. So if you're interested in working with these people, great, new, fun opportunity. But I also want you just to be cautious and make sure you go slow and take the time and work with people that are reputable. So we have about 18 minutes left. I'm going to cover a few quick additional apps, and then I'm here to answer your guys' questions. I can pull up Instagram so we can look at different accounts and get some ideas, but you know, please feel free, pop your questions in chat or in Q&A, you know, go for it. This is your guys' time. But anyway, the fun thing about Instagram is that it's not self-contained. From the early days of Instagram, and this year it'll be 10 years old, Instagram has always been sort of like a network. People don't just use Instagram. They use a lot of surrounding apps to do better at it, to be more creative, to do things easier than the app allows for. So don't be afraid to use other apps and other programs to help supplement your Instagram use. First up is Canva. Canva is free. They do have some paid options as well. But it is a fabulous tool for creating graphics, like infographics, invites, collages, anything you need to maybe more graphically design. If you are not a graphic artist, this is a great place to start. You can get some very sharp, very nice looking images that work specifically for your business. It's not, you know, broad in general. But it's so easy to use and so easy to get very gorgeous stuff out of. So if you're looking to customize your posts a little bit more and don't even know where to get started, Canva is a really fun tool, and they do have a lot available for free. And they have entire categories specifically dedicated to social media. So don't be afraid to use it. Sprout Social is one I was talking about. I regularly read their articles to see what the current trends are, but it is a pretty expensive platform. It's between $99 and $250 a year, depending on what functionality you want. But they offer scheduling. So Instagram, you cannot schedule posts. When you make the post, you make the post. But you can use outside apps to schedule to Instagram. Sprout Social is one of those. It also has analytics, as I mentioned before. It's a great way to get around that 7-day window where it only collects 7 days worth of analytics. You can see much farther. And you can track hashtags, you can track specific trends. It's a pretty good platform, but it is on the pricier side. Adobe Lightroom is a free app. If you've used any sort of Adobe programs, you know how hefty they are and how much they can do. The Lightroom app is scaled back a bit. It doesn't have quite as much features as a normal Adobe program, so it's a little more user-friendly. And it lets you edit your photos. If you want to crop, you want to, you know, tilt it, you want to do filters, Lightroom is a free option, and it's very high-end. Layout is an app actually made by Instagram. It helps you make collages, so you can put multiple pictures in one image to upload so people don't have to swipe through. It also really highlights what I was saying earlier of Instagram is a network. You've never meant to use just Instagram. You've always meant to use multiple apps. And this is shown by Instagram itself putting out multiple apps like Layout, like IGTV. So don't be afraid to use other things to do more easier. HypeType is a free app that helps you put moving text on your images. So it's really fun, eye-catching, kind of goofy. It's visually interesting. They're especially geared towards doing moving text on stories, but you can do it for regular posts as well. It converts your video or image into a video in order to get that moving text. VSCO is the most downloaded photo editing app on pretty much every platform, VSCO. So if you want to fiddle with your images and you don't like Instagram's built-in editing options, you're not alone, because there's a billion options out there to do otherwise. Buffer is the one on this list that I actually regularly use. They have a free option for up to 3 accounts. And this is, you could schedule posts on multiple social media platforms at the same time. So with one click of a button, I could post on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I think some others, all at the same time without having to go post it on Instagram and then share it to Facebook, or log into Instagram and post it, and then log into Facebook and post it, and log into Twitter and post it. I can post it all at the exact same time through Buffer, and I can also schedule. And yes, you can schedule Instagram single images. If you schedule an Instagram post that has like a carousel ad, so you have more than, or not ad, sorry, post, you have more than one picture in, it does give you a little pop-up that you have to manually go in and click approve in Instagram. So that's a little bit frustrating. That's limitations Instagram has set up, but it does let you schedule posts. This is really helpful if you're like me. I do not have time to be on all of these platforms every single day. I have other stuff to do with my life. So what I actually do is I sit down on 1 or 2 days a week and I schedule posts out for the rest of the week, so I don't have to keep coming back to it when I'm busy. So tools like Buffer and Sprout Social and Hootsuite allow you to do that. So don't be afraid to use them. So that is my spiel. We have about 10 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them in Q&A or in the chat. I'm here for you. This is your time. Ask away. But I'm also going to go ahead, while I'm waiting for you guys, I'm going to go ahead and pull up some examples of accounts that I think are pretty good. Let's see. Nancy asked, does Instagram have any kind of book now, schedule an appointment kind of thing? Unfortunately, it does not outside of ads. You can do that in an ad, but on a regular post, there's no functionality built into it because it is limited. Shop posts are limited to physical items, but you can, in a regular post, just tell people, hey, book now, go click the link in our description. And I don't think I mentioned it in this class. I did in the intro class. Because that link is the only link you get clickable on Instagram, you should regularly change it to whatever it is you want people to do. So don't be afraid to use the link. All right, while I'm waiting for more questions, let's go back to Instagram. So Coupeville Chambers is pretty sparse. I will admit it. I've been doing other stuff since it started in February when things went a little haywire. But so we're going to look at some examples. Go away, Steam. I don't want you. The Freckled Farmhouse. There we go. Freckled Den Farmhouse is one of my favorites, just as an inspiration. They are a small, like, home goods store located in Fayetteville. They have, 53,000 followers, which is nothing to sneeze at. You can see here, these circle posts at the top of their account are archived stories. So they're in story format. They chose them. They chose to stick around for. She's talking over me. Stop talking over me. So they chose to archive these posts so that they are available outside of the 24-hour window. This is an option for you every single time you make a post, and you can also put them in different categories like she has here, and you can archive them in certain categories every time you choose to archive them. I'm glad I could be of help. I'm glad you guys stopped in. If you guys need to go at this point, that's totally fine. I will not be offended. I'm glad I could be helpful. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow, and I will send you guys all the slides as well. Please feel free to keep asking me questions tonight. You're also welcome to send me emails. Genuinely, I'm here to help you guys however I can. So I'm glad you guys are finding it useful. You guys are so nice. It is easy, I promise. It's so easy to get these social medias just worked up in your head of it being such a big, scary deal. But I promise it's not. It is easier than it sounds, than it's felt. You just gotta go for it and give it a try. That's how you find your voice. So I'm gonna go for a local example if you guys haven't seen it. You guys might be thinking some of these, oh, I could never do this. I don't have that much skill. I don't have this kind of product. I could never do this. You can though. These guys are a very small shop, but let's go look at a local one in case you need some inspiration. Probably my absolute favorite social media presence locally here on Whidbey Island is Whidbey Donuts. Their site is hilarious. It's so engaging. You know, they've got some super simple. There's literally a picture of a clock he found on clip art, and it's just super simple. We're open till 8, order. But let's see. Come on, gotta go next. He has a lot of fun doing very silly videos. If you've never watched them, he records all of these in the shop and posts them. These are all his staff members. And we need those Whidbey Donut gift cards to order. Very funny. You know, switches between that and just nice, beautiful up close shots of the donuts. Very engaging. So if you want local inspiration, I would recommend Whidbey Donuts. It's a lot of fun. And you can see they don't take themselves super seriously. You know, some of these are just super simple text on a white background. Some of them are super involved videos. So he just has fun with it, and you can feel it in his posts. Obviously, you know, Whidbey Camino Land Trust is also a really great local page. They spread out just highlighting some really stunning local animals and local places on Whidbey. So this is a really great account to check out as well. And you can see, you know, they've got 5 hashtags on their post. So, and they got pretty decent engagement too. This is what they do still let me see how many numbers of people like it, but like I said, that will probably go away at some point. And you can see they consistently have Whidbey Island, Whidbey Camino Land Trust, and nature on their posts, but these other ones change depending on what they're talking about. So it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be super involved. Just slow down, be mindful, make sure you're putting up stuff that is relevant to your business, that is engaging and useful to your audience, and that they want to see and they want to engage with. And just give yourself permission to try things. You're never going to be, you know, an overnight Instagram sensation. It takes time to build up your audience. It takes time to build up your voice. It takes time to get comfortable and used to the platform. So give yourself that permission and give yourself time to explore and see what works and see what doesn't, what you find interesting, what you do not. And that's really how you're going to get good at this platform. So, unless there are any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Again, I will send out the video and the slides probably tomorrow. It's about dinner time for me now. But we still have 5 minutes, so I'm here if anybody has any specific questions. Happy to show you guys.